So what if you're trapped inside of a slasher film that constantly reset itself every single time you died? Well, let's find out, as I wish you a happy Death Day. After a night of hard partying and heavy drinking, the self-centered sorority sister Tree Gelman wakes up on the morning of her birthday with a serious hangover in the dorm of a guy whose name she can't recall. As Tree moves through her disgruntled birthday, avoiding calls from her father and treating nobody with any decency, she's eventually attacked by a killer dressed as the school's mascot and dies. But suddenly she finds herself right back at the beginning of her day, reliving every single moment. Yet even as she chooses different paths through each reset, the killer constantly stalks and kills her every time. Now Tree must decipher the mounting clues as to her killer's identity and find a way to get through her endless birthday. So released to theaters on Friday the 13th of October 2017, Happy Death Day grossed a whole ton of money, $125.5 million off a mere $4.8 million, which is a pretty common thing for Blumhouse Productions, which completely deals in low-budget horror, anything that's pretty much under about $10 million, and they always seem to make a profit on these films. And this one actually had a very interesting way of coming to be, because it took about 10 years for this thing to get into motion. Because in 2007, screen artist Scott Lobdell, who was a comic book writer for DC and Marvel Comics, a few other things, came up with this idea to kind of use a different sort of format to kind of play with the tropes of the horror genre here. Always thinking like, well, the bad girls get killed off early on, and then you get the good girls who kind of go on the film and become the heroines and stuff like that. And it was kind of an idea to see how you could put into a process of taking the mean girl in the film and putting her through something that would change her and grow her into a much more lovable protagonist by the end of the film, and adding in this entire almost kind of science fiction style of concept, the entire sort of Groundhog Day thing that you've seen so many times. Star Trek The Next Generation's done it, Edge of Tomorrow, X-Files has done a whole bunch of things that have kind of used this sort of day resetting type of thing to kind of tell very interesting, very good stories. And he wanted to apply that here and use the slasher genre towards that effect, where you have the main character being stalked by a masked killer, and every time the lead protagonist gets killed, it resets the day for her to go off and trying to figure out who the hell the damn killer is. And that's a pretty ingenious concept here, and it's put together so goddamn well that it was weird that, again, took 10 years for it to get in motion, because he wrote the script, things kind of stalled out here and there. They didn't, the producers, the studio really didn't greenlight it anyway, and there was originally going to be like produced by Michael Bay, starring Megan Fox and all these types of things. Apparently, we also had the fact that the end-up director of this film, Christopher Landon, had worked with the Blumhouse Productions on the entire Paranormal Activity films, and got into this whole thing to kind of see the script and like wanted to rework it a little bit. He wanted to get a little more things into it, including the entire thing of the birthday being the sort of central piece of the character's journey in the film, and adding in some other different elements and concepts to kind of give a little bit more to the concept, kind of use different elements to kind of grow the character and kind of use different elements to kind of expand the story in certain places. And I think they really put together one hell of a surprising little horror film here that it's such a fun ride that these days you really don't get slasher films in theaters anymore. And it's kind of a shame, because right now we're still in the midst of the whole ghost story, paranormal stuff, the Conjuring stuff, all these things with haunted objects and demon possession stuff, all that type of stuff. We don't get good slasher films anymore. It's like, this has such a wonderful enthusiasm and love for that type of genre to kind of use that and make a fun, sort of silly horror film in a certain way that it has a great blending of all the wonderful elements you could get from like a like a Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives, or some of the better Elm Street sequels and whatnot, or just general fun horror films altogether, that has wonderfully likable characters, has great pieces of humor throughout the whole thing, and does all the horror stuff exceptionally well. I like so much in this film that you've got this wonderful flowing tone for everything. You've got all these moments where you're getting introduced to the character Tree here, portrayed by the fantastic Jessica Rothe, and you're just getting these moments where she's not a very nice person. Again, she's kind of mean-spirited. She's got this attitude to her that she's just standoffish against everyone. She doesn't make friends, and she kind of passively dismisses people and kind of abuses relationships in certain ways, where she's not really cognizant of the whole thing. She's just kind of someone who's just kind of pushed everything away from her life. And even when you're starting out with this character who's not very endearing, he's not terribly likable, but there's something about the energy of the film, the charisma, that is pushing you through these scenes and getting up to the points where the horror interjects and the time reset thing starts kicking into the whole thing. You start seeing the progression of the story and how it keeps building that momentum, and seeing how these characters kind of develop in the story. I really like how it uses all these little elements to build a great character here, in this character of Tree here. All the elements of the horror and the humor and the lightness and a little bit more of the emotional stuff as you get deeper into the film. They build a character that's very dimensional. I think Jessica Rothe does a fantastic job in this film. I just absolutely was wowed by her throughout this entire course of this movie. That it's a wonderful character arc that you get with this character in this film, because she goes through these harrowing, just bewildering experiences, just horrifying stuff, that she thinks she's losing her mind, and she doesn't know how to handle the situation. She has to start eventually confiding in certain people and trying to find a way to handle and deal with this situation, that begins to endear to the wonderful character of Carter here, portrayed by Israel Broussard. And you just start getting this little relationship building between them, and she starts to soften, and she starts to become more sympathetic of a character. She starts to acknowledge and appreciate people around her that are actually going out of their way for her, stuff like that. She starts to confront the issues in her life, and I like the fact that there's so much of a heart to this film. I like so much that you see this progression in this film, that you start getting the layers peeled back, and you understand why she is the way she is, the stuff that happened in her past with her family that has made her this type of person that's very standoffish and very just not sociable to anyone or likable towards anyone. And you just see that how everything kind of breaks down, and how it starts to break those elements of her character and starts to expand her heart in the story and everything, and becomes a very, very likable protagonist as the film goes on. I just like how she handles absolutely everything, from the terror that she has to go through when she's getting run down and stalked, and all these different things, and the smarts the character has. I like how she just starts making all these really smart choices in how to handle this situation and deal with the killer, and how to escape in certain places, and how to make the whole time reset kind of work towards her advantage in certain places. It's really kind of smart, clever screenwriting, and it's a really smart way of executing the whole film. I think the direction from Christopher Landon in this thing is really just damn perfect. I think he does everything just right all across the board here. I think there's so much of a sharpness, a momentum. There's such a pace to this thing that just keeps charging forward, but you never get too wrapped up in anything, that you don't slow down for the character moments to really make the journey of these characters and make them very memorable, make them very endearing towards the audience. I think everything really comes together so well with how they put together the arc and the characters and the development of all that stuff. And when you get a character like Danielle, this sort of stuck-up, snobby, sort of a sorority head or whatnot, she's kind of a bitch. She doesn't endear herself to anyone. She's really just straight up a person that just is not a nice person. Even though you got these moments where Tree, clearly she's like stealing away love interest from her and stealing away boyfriends, stuff like that. And you've seen that she sleeps around with married men. You see that this character like Danielle, she just sticks it to people every single chance she gets. She just has no moment where she's not kind of wrapped up in her own sort of arrogance in a certain way. So it's like, it's great to see that kind of juxtaposition as you see Tree grows. You see Danielle still maintains that in every iteration of how the day unfolds. She's still the exact same sort of abrasive, stuck-up character and everything. So even like that, the characters are vibrant, they're charismatic, they have a lot of brightness to them. So it's like everything works towards his advantage with all the actors and the characters written in this whole thing. Everyone delivers on that type of level, and just like, I love how the film is shot. I love how the whole thing just has, again, an energy to it. There's like certain sequences just have really, really cool camera moves and everything. Just kind of, they're just very cognizant of moving the camera in certain places when you've got these chase scenes going on and things are kind of barreling down upon Tree and she's trying to escape the killer and all these different things. Everything just has an energy to it. I love the fact that it has that. It keeps that cognizant sense of having that sort of level of production value for only about $4.5 million. It looks a whole lot more expensive than that because they just use everything to the greatest extent possible. And everything to do with that, and just the fact that you've got these really smart concepts in this type of thing, where a lot of times when people do this sort of concept, it's like a full, fresh reset of the day, except for the memories of the main character. I like the fact that in every reset, Tree maintains the injuries she sustains from the previous one, aside from them not being fatal, but she also has like broken bones and scar tissue and head trauma, stuff like that. So it's like, it's a cumulative thing to maintain a threat that even if she keeps resetting the day, the injuries internally might mount up to the point where she's just not going to survive, whether or not she discovers and beats whoever the killer is. It's a really smart concept to keep a really great sense of threat and peril for the character there. It keeps building towards things and keeps amping up the sequences. And whenever the killer comes around, I love the entire sequence where it's just like she thinks she's escaped out of the parking garage and gets willingly arrested by the officer on the side of the road, and then the entire car blows up and all these different things happen. It's like there's imagination. There's always something new going on. They're always just finding a new way to make sure that every single way she dies in the film has a new twist to it, a new freshness to it that's not contrived. It keeps flowing organically through how she changes the day and everything. So I love that. I love the sense of humor the film just has with the entire concept as she's going along and trying to figure out, whittle down this list she made of all the potential suspects, and keeps having these really fun moments and this fun montage in the film. So it's like, it has all that great elements to everything. And one of the absolute best goddamn things I can say about this film, it has a score from Bear McCreary, who had me sold when he was doing music for the old Human Target television series with Mark Valley. That won me over, and goddamn, Bear McCreary is fucking awesome. He adds so much musical value to the score of this film. It's just out of sight, man. It's so fantastically dynamic and full and rich what he's doing here with everything. It's like he just knows how to work that stuff, and he's so absolutely phenomenally talented. You get Bear McCreary, you're going to get a high quality, epic, theatrical type experience. Again, even when he was scoring that television series, it sounded like a big budget theatrical film, everything he was doing there. So I just know the quality of what he can bring, and he really amped up this film beyond even what they were already doing. Did a fantastic job, and it's one of the interesting things that the sort of baby face mascot thing they got going on here was actually designed by the same guy who did the Ghostface mask for Scream. That was pretty much a modification on the Father Death Halloween costume that they kind of licensed and sort of modified for the use in the film. And it's like, it's really damn good. I mean, I like the fact that it adds in misdirections, even in just momentary sparks in the film. It's a great thing because it's a mascot. There's half the people on campus are going to have this mask, especially heading up to some sort of big game at the end of the week. Everyone's running around with a mask and stuff like that. So it's like, it just adds those little moments in there to just keep things a little bit on edge and kind of misdirect you and then pull you off in the other direction when the killer actually does show up. It just keeps things on its toes. I just like the fact that the film just keeps moving forward, and it has an electricity of how it's kind of moving the story in different directions and keeping you guessing and keeping that mystery alive and keeping everything moving forward. It's so very well done, and when you finally get to the end and get everything explained, it all fits together, and it's like, it's really damn good. It's so satisfying. It's a fun goddamn time, and it's like, it's a very smart screenplay. I just like the fact that everything has a heart to it. There's a building quality with the characters that's so very compelling and so heartwarming in a certain way. How many times can you say that about a slasher film? That it has heartwarming moments in it that builds character and brings out just deeper emotions in certain points. So it's like, I just love how that happens with this character tree. She comes kind of full circle, and you see the depth and the understanding of why she became this sort of person she was. It's wonderful, it's smart, it's sharp, it's witty in so many different places. It's just a wonderful type of thing, and I can't say much more about it, but I will be saying things in another review because they made a sequel, Happy Death Day to You, which I'll be bringing to you later this month, guys. So if you got anything to say about Happy Death Day, the very first film, throw it in the comments below, because I was just so enthusiastic to really just watch this yet again and just have a fun time with it. It's just a wonderful, entertaining experience. So thanks so much, guys. More Forever Horror Month coming up soon. So thanks much. Take care. Bye-bye.